Why should I care? Well, you really shouldn't.
Welcome to Why Should I Care, a pop culture podcast. And today we're going to answer a simple question. What happens when you take a 1970s cop drama and combine it with the Brady Bunch? And the answer is a simple one. You get Action Family, a 1986 one-off special from Chris Elliot. That didn't go any further than that. It was a one-time pilot. And at work, Chris Elliot is a no-nonsense, hardcore detective investigating the brutal murders of jazz musicians. But at home, he's a guy straight out of a sitcom, and he's trying to satisfy every whim of his wife and kids. And it kind of explores the two different tones of the show. And we're going to talk a little bit about it. How are you, gents?
Good. How are you?
Good. So, yeah, Action Family is something special. Just initial reactions from the viewing.
Initial reactions of me while I also fight with my webcam, so it's like you're watching the Blair Witch Project. I'll say this: it's maybe one of the It's ahead of its time, but not in any social context. Mostly just in joke context. So it feels like a Adult Swim. It feels like an Adult Swim like show from 2002, rather than a Showtime one-off comedy skit from '86. And the only way that you would really know is because you see young David Letterman in it, and you're like, "Oh, fuck! It really is '86." Okay.
Very young David Letterman.
And young Seth Green. Yeah.
Oh, that's exactly right. Incredibly young Seth Green.
That was Seth Green?
Yeah.
That was Seth Green.
Little Bebe Green.
Wow.
Yes. Oh my God.
I slept like shit last night. Said and then proceeded to not get up at a normal time either. So I'm still like.
Me too.
Sleep loopy. So I don't know what the fuck I'm saying.
No, I love it. I think it's gonna add a little something. There's gonna be tonal shifts in our podcast as well. So that'll be great.
As I'm waking up.
Oh.
I'm horny.
Yeah. I'm just gonna have an extended coffee break. I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, it's basically about a private investigator played by Chris Elliot, who is investigating the murder of jazz musicians. He's warned by one of his friends who is a jazz musician himself. And then he is murdered shortly after that, right outside of Chris's office. And it kind of goes from there. But I do love the ambitious quality of the gritty, on-film 70s cop drama that they commit to 1,000%. And then they cut to him at home, complete with a laugh track, sitcom style.
Does it? And that's it. I can't remember because it's been a minute since I watched it. Does it switch from film to tape?
Yes,
that's right. That's what I thought, and I couldn't remember if that detail. So you're right. That is an incredible detail of we're going to go from film to. Yeah, it really does give it that like dichotomy.
I had a hard time telling it 480p.
Sure.
But yeah, it definitely like the style absolutely changes. It goes from like
single cam to multi-camera.
Standard, yeah, your standard like 3-camera soundstage setup to just let's set this up, let's shoot this scene, let's move on. They do a pretty good job of jumping between the two. I mean, even in the intro, it goes from like the Brady Bunch to cop drama, slap bass, and back.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is very much the show.
Yeah, and again, I feel like Chris Elliot has done other shit like this. Like, I'm just gonna kind of do a weird lambasting of a genre thing. Like, and even what was the cop show that he had on Adult Swim?
Eagleheart?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Eagleheart. That's correct. It was him.
Okay. I didn't know if that was him or Paul Scheer. I've never actually seen Eagleheart, but I've seen some of the trailers.
Yeah, Eagleheart is Chris Elliot and Chris as Chris Monsanto.
That's a great name.
It's also got Brett Gelman in it, who is just like, he's good for if you need a guy to like look a little unsettling, but also have a very soothing voice. Brett Gelman's your guy.
Well, it's interesting because the whole sitcom thing, Chris's daughter comes down the stairs, Melissa, who's like completely nude, and they have the censor bars on her. And she's getting ready to go on a date with someone she met at a prison dance named Zach.
That's my favorite joke is in that scene where he goes,
"Hold the phone, young lady. You plan on going out on a date dressed like Lady Godiva?"
What's the matter with the way I look? Zach thinks it's sexy.
God damn it, it's fucking hilarious. Like this, obviously
Certainly
there's
his mother's daughter. Yeah,
yeah, there's a lot of, don't get me started about her mother as an elderly woman, but,
oh my gosh, yeah.
but there's definitely some jokes in here that don't necessarily land in today's social context, but that whole scene is pretty fucking funny. Like,
Yeah. And complete with when they actually meet the boyfriend, because they have that plot thread where Chris finds on his murdered jazz musician friend, on his body, they find a earring.
That's a feather.
A feathered earring, exactly. And Zach, Melissa's prison boyfriend, has the same earring. So when you first meet him, you get to see that. And then you see Chris put the pieces together. But one of my favorite inappropriate lines from that whole exchange was,
"You know, stirring fudge in a slammer for 10 years really makes you appreciate real chicks."
What a nice thing to say.
it's just what a horrible thing to say to a father about his daughter. And
Yeah. I just appreciate that she's not a man.
And also how well he takes it. Just sort of, oh.
Yeah, you old so
Don't like that man.
Yeah. Yeah. I do love the ridiculousness too whenever Seth Green's character is having struggles in school, and they kind of plant the seed where, "I think you've been spending too much time with your guitar, son." And then
right. I just don't understand anything they're saying.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
He's been standing on the wrong bus corner, so he's been going to the Spanish language school the whole time.
Right. And that whole joke that they have where Chris just repeats exactly what his wife has asked,
right.
Mrs. Diaz, and then the crowd goes crazy, and they have to stop the actual production of the show.
Thank you all so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your generous response. However, we are on a schedule.
There's so many good moments, but I think you hit the nail on the head, Jeremy. Socially, it's definitely hasn't aged well. Comedy-wise, as far as the tonal shifts, the creativity of some of the bits within it, you can definitely tell who it's inspired. I remember reading that Dan Harmon really was inspired by this pilot for some of the things that he went on and did, which we talked about Heat Vision and Jack in a previous episode, and he had said that kind of played into how he approached that as well.
Which is funny to me because like it just shows that Dan Harmon's a more creative person than me, because I couldn't look at Action Family and go, I can't glean anything from it creatively because it's so off the fucking wall.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, what? I would love to know what about it inspired him and like what he took from it, other than this is fucking nuts.
Yeah. I mean that definitely shows in a lot of the things that he makes, i.e. being fucking nuts. But yeah, that's, like you see that and you're like, that piece is on its own. I mean, other than just the sheer concept of escalating, your preconceived notions.
But I feel like that's the only thing about it that is maybe formulaic's not the right word, but it does sort of do the comedy thing where it's like, all right, I'm going to subvert your expectations and I'm going to like bump it up a notch every time.
So, I think formulaic's good. I think correct. I think that's the correct formula for comedy.
Maybe it is. I think so. Rule of threes and subvert expectations. So yeah, I suppose so. But
Doesn't even do rule of threes in this one.
Yeah, indeed. So maybe really also, it's just comedy 101 at this point. So I mean, why are we even talking about it?
Well, what I love about it too is, you know, back when TV sitcoms had morals or lessons, this certainly tried to put one on its head, much like South Park did in its early seasons, where despite the ridiculousness that you just witnessed, they try to make a lesson of it all. And even though they end up murdering Zach on behalf of Melissa, Chris's daughter, to just make sure they're a happy family, they still have this heartwarming moment before he explodes through the window and gets murdered.
Don't you understand? This is me. This is who I am. Take it or leave it.
I think we'll take it.
And I love that ridiculous tonal shifts. The Lethal Weapon.
Right.
Yeah. Ridiculous slow-mo gritty murder scene.
Not to mention that he goes through the window the wrong way as the way he throws him. So
yeah, so great. No, I think that it's really funny, you know, to look back on, you know, because a lot of people don't know Chris Elliot from anything back in the day, from Letterman or Action Family or Cabin Boy. They know him as the hand guy from, you know, Scary Movie 2. You know, so
he had a couple. Like he was on one of the lost SNL casts too, right? Like he only had a season or two.
Yeah, he was like briefly on the same seasons as Farley, Spade, and Adam Sandler.
That's what I thought. But on the early side of it, right? Like right as they started, he was kind of also there, and then they continued, and he didn't.
Right, and his daughter 80, I think, is really one of the only generational.
You mean Abby?
Abby, excuse me. Yeah, Abby made it on SNL too, so that's pretty cool. That
and had a much better tenure than her father did.
Word.
Abby Elliott's really funny. She has her dad's peg the camera thing down. Like he'll do a camera look, break the fourth wall, that she also, I think, sort of picked up. Because I was watching a lot of SNL. She was on in that cast of like right when I was in the mid 2000s, and that's actually when I was watching a lot of SNL. So, and she's very pretty. So who knows how Chris Elliot made that? Because he is a goofy looking son of a bitch.
And I'm sorry for not even bringing up Schitt's Creek. That's probably the obvious choice for him. Yeah.
What's funny about Schitt's Creek too is that that's a show that I've been hearing about literally forever, and it seems like. But not in any context other than, oh, this is a show.
You should watch that. It's good.
Well, my wife just watched the whole thing. Yeah, my wife just watched the whole thing. Yeah, and it's like, oh, it's funny, and so now I have to watch it, I guess.
Yeah, Chris Elliot plays Roland Shit,
he's the mayor, right?
The town mayor, exactly. Mm-hmm. But you know, when you have Eugene Levy and the cast that they have in that show, I mean, it's almost like watching an old Christopher Guest movie. And
they do the scripts like that too, right? Like it isn't 100% written. It's just they outline it and do the thing. Is it the same thing? Or because I know him and Dan wrote it, but I don't know Eugene and Dan Levy, that is. But I don't know if it's like all those other movies.
I'm not sure, honestly. I know that I would say with that cast, you have to have an element of improv.
For sure.
And with Action Family, you can tell that there's probably some elements of that too. Like, I just wonder. I wish I could pick his brain to figure out like how he came up with a skit like the hot dog vendor skit where he opens fire on the hot dog vendor for making a mistake putting mustard on his hot dog. Like it's so random, but somehow it fits and it's funny.
Well, I feel like it was sort of a nod to several other moments in like crime procedurals where they find someone who isn't who they claim to be.
Just ketchup.
One with just ketchup. Yes, sir. Is something wrong, sir?
Wrong? Oh, no. There's nothing wrong. Nothing at all. You go about your business. Oh, oops.
Start over again.
Yeah.
Fork and all.
Yeah, fork and all.
What's going wrong here? I've never had so much trouble with a hot dog in my life.
Maybe it's the humidity.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Could be that. I'll have this for you in just a jiff. And there you go. Perfect. 75 cents, sir, please.
Well, it's a perfect hot dog. Well cooked, neatly placed on a fresh buttermilk bun with just the right amount of yellow mustard spread evenly from end to end.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
You know your dog's all right.
I sure do. There's only one problem. I think I asked for ketchup. Not your stinking mustard.
Oh, maybe I could fix it up.
I think it's too late for that.
How about this? Mister, I got no problem with you. It was a mistake.
You ain't supposed to make mistakes, old man.
But we all make mistakes.
Well, I guess you're right. You don't have a cigarette.
What I like is him, like you said, opening fire as he runs away. Which, I mean, if we've learned anything from 2020, maybe that actually is the training. So, I don't know. This is ahead of its time.
I just feel like Metallica's sad but true.
Right.
But no, I think it's interesting to your point, Andy, when you're talking about 480p. For those of you that actually want to watch Action Family, there's only one way to do it, or I'm sorry, two ways to do it.
There are two ways.
You can watch it on VHS combined with an FDR one-man show that I can tell you because I tried. It's unwatchable. From Chris Elliot.
Is he sitting up or standing down? Is he doing polio or?
He does pre and post polio.
Ah, interesting.
Which is shows a lot of range for Chris.
Oh
Elliot.
yeah.
But there's a VHS tape that has Action Family and the FDR one-man show together, or you can see it, as Andy stated, in 480p on YouTube.
Now, the way that you're talking about, bundled with the FDR one-man show on VHS, right now I've found the easiest way to obtain said VHS is on Amazon. There's only one left. Act now for $100, including shipping.
Wow.
For a VHS of Chris Elliot.
I like Chris Elliot.
I love Chris Elliot. He's great.
I don't like him that much.
Very obscure piece.
Yeah. I don't. Maybe he can lend me the $100. No, I don't know. No, it's definitely worth watching. But I think 480p is just fine.
I don't feel like an HD remaster of this is going to bring anything else into the fold either. This is the definitive version. I think you're going to be good.
But I do love the fact in '86 that he had to pitch this to someone, and they're like, "Great, I love it. Let's do it." That's amazing that happened.
I bet you though. Sorry, go ahead, Andy.
I was going to say it was called the Cinemax Comedy Experiment.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, that's true.
And Chris Elliott was pretty big back then. I think.
Well, in that lane he was, because he had that recurring. He was a writer on Letterman forever, and he had that recurring sort of character. Well, he would play a different person oftentimes, but it was always basically the same character, which is, look at this fucking weird guy who's acting all weird, like he's saying crazy shit. That's Chris Elliot. So obviously, I think the David Letterman connection probably is what got this rolling in the 80s.
And I heard that he kind of had some pull too from his dad being in Bob and Ray, like a pretty popular comedy duo.
Yep. I forgot about that.
And that's how because he used to be an NBC page, and Letterman spotted him as a page and discovered him and brought him onto Letterman, which is pretty cool. But it was because Dave loved his dad so much, who was the gentleman in the hot dog skit who played the vendor. Was Chris Elliott's dad.
Bob Elliott.
Bob Elliott, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I actually just had to look that up. That makes the... oh, yeah, I saw your dad earlier back. Was he Bob or Ray? Yeah. I don't know. I get them mixed up, too.
Yeah. No, I think there are elements of this that are certainly funny. But I guess we should just jump to ratings. What do you guys think? Do we care?
In spite of the fact that it is very much of its time, I'm going to say I do care, mostly because I haven't... Comedy at the end of the day is mostly based on the element of surprise. And I feel like today's comedy has become very formulaic, and not that it can't be funny, but I was surprised by Action Family in a way that I have not been surprised by comedy in a while. And sometimes the surprise wasn't positive. It was like, oh, shit. But I would say that I care, because I got to give somebody credit for trying something, and he definitely tried.
Yeah, I'm with Jeremy. I absolutely care. I mean, it does that thing where it holds a gritty mirror up to the face of common media at the time, a time that's, just completely populated by either, crime procedurals or family sitcoms. It's like, fuck it, why not just do both? I mean,
yeah, we'll do 50 fucking 50. Let's roll.
Let's do this.
And I mean, the title card behind Anthony sort of shows you that dichotomy. Like,
exactly, yeah. In the immortal words of Michael Keaton as Batman, you want to get nuts, let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts. You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight, Andrew?
I have. It's fantastic.
The devil was me.
Aw. So
you helped me so gently.
But yeah. Like Jeremy said, it was of its time, and even especially for being of its time, it definitely subverted expectations, as I think any good comedy should. Certain elements withstanding, and it was brilliant in its own right, despite the fact that it was considered highly experimental back then, and I feel like it kind of helped pave the way in some ways more than others. Dan Harmon being inspired by it for. Where a lot of comedies are today, especially like the Adult Swim audience and content.
I will say this of the sort of unwokeness of it and the sort of un-PC-ness of some of the racial elements of the humor. Unlike the sort of cringy edgelord version of that from the early 2000s, where you're just like, I'm going to try to push people's buttons by saying things that are just offensive on their face with no commentary. Sure. This does not do that, and I feel like it would be it's worthwhile to point out that all of the comedy and racial commentary that exists in the show is purposeful and is sort of tongue-in-cheek, but it's played so straight that if you didn't get the reference, it wouldn't feel that way. It's on the nose, but not, I guess.
There was a lot of there was a lot of pervasive language back then that definitely inspired that, because it was a little too just overt. And
sure. But it also isn't like it isn't necessarily just completely. It's it's not Birth of a Nation we're talking about here. It's just a little bit of it's the fucking 80s and it feels like it.
Well, I do like the fact that Chris's character does get called out on that treatment a few times within the show, and that's an important thing to bring up. But I to piggyback on what y'all are saying, I agree with both of you 100%. I do care from a comedy standpoint. I think it's still inspiring. I think it is still, as Jeremy said, surprising, even in comparison to some modern day things that took some of these elements and made something new. I still think it, from a comedy standpoint, is hilarious in a lot of ways. And even though it hasn't aged well 100%, I definitely do care. And I think that any fan of comedy would find something that they could appreciate about it.
I also I appreciate using female nudity purely for comedy and not for sex at all. Like, it's not played as sexy at all. I mean, the audience goes ooh like a sitcom audience would, but her nudity is played for comedy the same way that typically male nudity is, and I appreciate the subversion there as well, which is like, we're not going to talk about the sexy element of it at all. That is actually going to be the punchline. I think that's where the brilliance lies, is this sort of subversion of your normal expectation.
And children advocating for murder.
Well, I mean, to be fair, don't they all?
Let's murder him, Daddy.
Yeah, to be fair, as the only non-father here, I don't know shit about kids, so I'm gonna leave that up to you, gentlemen.
I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Neither one of us do either.
Oh, okay, good.
But we're trying.
Well,
okay?
That's all that anyone could really ask for, isn't
it? Yep.
Well,
that was Why Should I Care? No, I'm kidding.
And that's it. Terrible fathers.
No, that's not true.
I have 4 cats.
Wow.
I do, and also the 2 dogs. It's a problem here. That's all the ruckus you've been hearing the whole fucking time we've been recording. Is 2 of the cats that I have were just like, one of them was over here a moment ago with just her feet just in the air kicking because she got wedged behind my entertainment center. So it's kind of like having kids, except for no one cares.
Thumbs too.
Oh yeah, right. That's fair.
This episode was brought to you by Austin Pets Alive.